The morning started quiet in the shared dorm on Space Station Delta 9. The human boy named Kai woke up early, just like always, his eyes still half closed. He walked to the shower, rubbing his face. His mind still sleepy, he thought his alien roommate. Lyra was still sleeping in her room. She never came out this early. She always stayed inside, reading or watching human shows quietly with her big, glowing eyes. Kai never thought she would come out so soon. He never thought today would change everything. He stepped into the shower, humming softly, the warm water falling down his back. He relaxed his head against the wall. Not caring much about anything, the dorms were private enough. He never locked the bathroom door. Because why would he? They both respected each other's space, but then the door opened slowly, and a shadow entered. Lyra walked in her smooth lavender skin, glowing a soft purple. Her long hair tied back, her eyes wide as she turned the corner and saw him standing there naked under the water. Her breath caught in her throat, and she froze. Her hands shook slightly, her legs locked in place. She stared, not in shock or fear, but something deeper, something ancient. Kai turned around. Thinking it was nothing, then he saw her, and his heart stopped. He tried to cover himself and speak, but no words came out. Lyra's eyes met his for one long second. Then she fainted, her body falling to the floor like a falling petal, silent and slow. He ran to her, forgetting everything, wrapping a towel around himself. He touched her forehead. Her skin was cool, not cold, just calm like still water. He called her name again and again. Lyra, Lyra, please wake up. His voice cracked, but she stayed still until suddenly her eyes opened and she whispered a word in her own language. It sounded like music mixed with wind. She sat up slowly, avoiding his eyes. Her face turned away. Her cheeks darkened with a strange shade of blue, her skin glowing brighter. She whispered again, I am sorry, I did not mean to. I did not. No, you were. I should not have. Kai nodded, unsure of what to say. His heart still racing, he backed away, giving her space. He helped her up and made sure she was okay. She nodded again and left the bathroom without another word, her steps quiet like a ghost. Her long robe brushing the floor the rest of the day was filled with silence. She did not speak to him. She barely looked at him during breakfast. She sat far from him during class. She walked ahead of him during the walk back. She disappeared into her room without saying goodnight, but something felt different. The air between them had changed, like static before lightning. Kai kept thinking about her eyes, the way she looked at him, not with embarrassment, but with something else, something deeper, something he could not explain. That night, while trying to sleep, he heard a soft sound outside his door. A note had been slipped under it. He picked it up, his hands shaking. It was written in both English and her native script. The message was short and strange. It said, you have awakened something I cannot ignore. I will try to stay away, but I do not know if I can. Kai sat there, frozen, the note still in his hands. He did not understand what he had done. He did not understand what was changing. But deep down, something inside him felt it. To something old, something powerful had started that morning in the shower, and nothing would ever be the same again. He looked at the stars through the window, his heart still unsure, but his mind full of questions. Why did she faint? Why did she look at him like that? What did she mean by awakened something? What was going to happen next? He closed his eyes, trying to sleep, but the image of her glowing face stayed with him, her eyes full of mystery and fire. In another room, Lyra sat alone, her fingers touching her lips, her thoughts racing faster than light. She had never seen a human like that before, never felt what she felt today. Her people bonded through deep emotions, not through words, not through time, but through moments of pure truth and vulnerability. And today, she saw him fully, without shield, without pride, and it triggered something deep inside her, something her kind called the true bond. She whispered to herself quietly in the dark, I must not let it grow. I must not let him near again, but her heart beat faster, her skin glowed again, and her fingers trembled because she knew it was already too late. The bond had started, and the human had no idea what was coming the morning. Light on Space Station Delta 9 felt colder than before, though nothing had really changed outside. The stars still blinked gently, the hallway lights still flickered, and the distant hum of the space engines stayed the same, but inside this shared dorm between Kai and Lyra, something had shifted. Something no scanner or AI could detect. Kai sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the folded note from last night. It felt heavy in his hands, even though it was only a thin piece of paper. He read the words again and again, his mind spinning with thoughts. He wanted to speak with her, to understand what she meant by awakened something, but she was still locked in her room, the door closed since the moment she had left the bathroom yesterday. He knocked once, twice, but no reply came from inside. He waited a few more minutes before heading to class alone, his thoughts clouded, his focus broken. During class, his mind drifted back to her eyes, her voice, her faint glow. Everything about Lyra felt different now, more than just alien, more than just strange. It was like she had become part of something deeper, like her presence followed him, even when she was not near. When he returned to the dorm in the evening, he found the door to her room open slightly, her voice soft and calm, flowing like water in the air. She was speaking to the room's AI assistant in her native language, the words sounding musical, but full of tension. When she saw him, she stopped, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a long, silent moment, she stood near the window, her long robe flowing around her like mist, her skin glowing dimly, her fingers wrapped around a small device shaped like a crystal. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out at first. Then finally, she spoke in English, her voice lower than usual. I did not mean to see you like that yesterday. It was not my plan, but now something has begun, something that cannot be stopped. I need you to understand, this is not your fault. Kai stepped closer, confused. But Kami asked her what she meant, what had begun, what had changed. She looked down at the crystal in her hand, then at him, her voice shaking slightly. My people are not like yours. We connect through emotion, through rare moments when the walls fall and the soul is visible. I saw you without shield, without fear. In that moment, I was vulnerable too. And something ancient within me responded. He stared at her, trying to grasp the meaning behind her words. She continued slowly, as if weighing every sentence like it carried great weight. Our ancestors believed in a bond that formed only once in a lifetime. A bond that starts when one sees another truly and completely. It was only a myth to most of us, but yesterday, I felt it. I felt the beginning of something my ancestors called the unity thread. Kai did not know how to respond. Part of him felt overwhelmed, another part curious and strangely comforted. He asked her what this unity thread meant for them now. She looked at him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. It means our minds will begin to align slowly at first, but stronger each day. It means we will feel each other's pain, joy, fear. It means I cannot lie to you, and you cannot hide from me. If the bond completes, we will be connected for life. The room fell silent, except for the soft hum of the oxygen vents. Kai took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He asked her if they had a choice, if they could stop it. Her answer was soft, almost like a whisper only. If we stay apart completely, no contact, no speaking, no shared space, but we live in the same dorm. We go to the same classes, and the thread has already started. I do not know if distance is enough anymore. She walked past him slowly, her presence sending a strange warmth across his skin. She stopped at the kitchen counter and picked up a small fruit, offering it to him with a small, uncertain smile. He took it without thinking. Their fingers brushed for a second, and in that second, the lights above flickered and a small pulse of energy rushed through both of them. They looked at each other, shocked, her eyes wide, his mouth slightly open. She whispered again, the thread is growing faster than I expected. Maybe because you are human, maybe because You did not fight it, maybe because we were meant to meet. Kai could not deny the strange pull he felt toward her. Something in his chest stirred. Something beyond logic, beyond reason. He sat down holding the fruit, still feeling the tingle from her touch. He looked up at her and asked what would happen next. She stared out the window at the stars, her voice distant and thoughtful. Next. We will dream together. Next. We will hear each other's thoughts. Next, we will feel things we cannot explain. Next, we will face the reason why our people were never meant to bond with. That she turned and went back to her room, the door closing behind her slowly but not locking, and Kai sat there wondering if life would ever feel normal again. The night crept in slowly over Space Station Delta 9, bringing silence and silver lights that danced along the walls like quiet ghosts. Kai lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, his thoughts spinning like a broken satellite. Everything about Lyra, everything about yesterday and today, kept echoing in his head. Outside, the small window stars moved past like glowing tears in the dark sky. The station stayed calm. The engines hummed gently, and all around him, the world was quiet. But inside his chest, something pulsed, something strange, something new. It felt like a heartbeat that was not his own, a rhythm that did not match his body but seemed to pull at his soul. He turned to his side and closed his eyes, hoping for sleep. But it came too quickly and too deep. He found himself floating in a dark place, soft blue light surrounding him, a voice calling his name. Gently, not from outside, but from inside his mind. It was Lyra's voice, soft and full of longing. She stood in front of him in the dream, her eyes shining like stars, her hand reaching out toward him, and when he touched her, the dream shattered like glass. Kai woke with a gasp, his heart pounding, sweat on his forehead. He sat up quickly, looking around the room. But everything was still normal, yet he knew something was not the same anymore. The pulse in his chest was stronger. Now, not painful, but impossible to ignore, like it belonged to both of them. He stepped into the hallway, the lights dimmed for nighttime. Mowed the silence deeper than before. He walked to the common area and found her there, sitting near the window, her knees pulled close to her chest, her hair falling over her shoulder, her glow dim and calm. She looked up as he entered, her eyes meeting his with no fear, no surprise. It was as if she had been expecting him. She said softly, in a voice only the stars could hear. You felt it, did you know? Nodded, sitting across from her, unsure of how to explain it. The dream, the pulse, the strange warmth. Inside him, she smiled faintly, as if she already knew everything. Bond is growing faster than expected. Our minds are beginning to meet in the dream space. That is the second step of unity. Thread. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, his voice shaking as he asked her what the next step would be. She turned her eyes back to the stars and spoke slowly after. Dreams come, the thoughts, and then the feelings. Our emotions will no longer be ours alone. When I am afraid, you will feel it. When you are angry, I will know it without words. We will understand each other like mirror. Sky looked down at his hands, unsure of what to say, unsure of what to feel. Part of him was scared, but another part felt like he was walking toward something important, something that had always been waiting for him. Even before he was born, Lyra's fingers moved gently across the metal frame of the window, tracing invisible patterns like ancient symbols. She looked at him again, her voice lower. My people have always feared this bond because it makes us vulnerable. It takes away all lies, all masks, all secrets. We must face each other completely, even the darkest parts. He nodded slowly, understanding that this was not just about two people meeting. This was something older, deeper, something that had been waiting in the silence between stars for someone to finally listen. Suddenly, the lights above them flickered again. The station AI spoke in a flat tone. Energy fluctuations detected in Sector B. Please remain calm and report any unusual activity. Kai looked at Lyra, her eyes wide with alarm, her skin glowing brighter than before. She stood up quickly and grabbed his hand. The pulse between them. It came a wave of heat and sound. The room seemed to shift. Slightly around them, like space itself, had been, she whispered urgently. The bond is not just inside us. It is affecting the space around us. Our connection is waking something bigger, and we must learn to control it. Before it spreads, he followed her. Back to the dorm, their hands still linked, the warmth between them, growing stronger, not burning, but electric, with meaning, with power, with memory that was not his own inside. The dorm Lyra reached into her storage box and pulled out a crystal that shimmered with blue light. She held it up to his chest, and it reacted instantly, glowing bright and sharp. She stepped back, her face pale. It is true, the bond is complete enough to activate. Ancient memory cells, we are crossing a line that has not been crossed for 1,000 years. Kai asked her what that meant, and her answer was quiet. And it means we are no longer just a human and an alien. It means we are becoming something else, something that will not be allowed to exist without challenge. Words hit him harder than he expected, but deep inside his heart, he knew she was right. Something powerful had started, something dangerous, something beautiful and terrifying, and it had begun the moment she saw him standing there under the water. Unguarded and true, he stood still, breathing slowly as the pulse inside him matched hers, exactly like two songs merging into one. The morning sun never rose on Space Station Delta 9, but the artificial lights glowed golden as they did every cycle, creating the illusion of day. Kai woke feeling lighter, but not rested. His dreams had returned, this time longer, deeper, more real. He saw a temple of stars floating in black space and heard voices whispering in languages he had never learned and yet somehow understood. He saw Lyra standing on steps of crystal, her eyes glowing with silver fire, her hand reaching for him, not with fear, but with purpose. He sat up, breathing fast, looking around the room. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The bond inside him was stronger now. The pulse no longer random. It moved in rhythm with his heart and mind, like a second heartbeat. He could not ignore. He stood and walked to the kitchen, where he found a new item on the table. A small device with Lyra's writing on it, a message playing softly when he picked it up. "Meet me in the garden dome, something is coming." He dressed quickly and made his way through the station, his thoughts racing, his chest tight with energy that had no name. He passed humans, aliens, robots, but no one noticed the storm building inside him. The garden dome stood empty. When he arrived, filled with tall green trees and strange flowers glowing with soft light, he stepped inside and found Lyra near a rue tree with silver leaves, her head bowed, her hands wrapped around something shining. She looked up as he approached, her face calm, but her eyes heavy with thought. She spoke slowly, her voice lower than usual. "Hey." Has arrived. Kai blinked, confused before asking who she meant. She pointed behind him, and he turned to see a tall alien figure entering the dome. His robes deep blue, his face marked with symbols that shimmered like water, his eyes fixed on Lyra with something between respect and warning. He bowed deeply and said words in Lyra's language, words that felt old, full of weight, full of history. Lyra answered with a tone that matched his. The air around them grew heavy. Kai felt the pulse inside him twist and grow sharper, as if reacting to the presence of this stranger. Lyra turned to him and spoke softly. "This is Soren. He is from my world, from my house, from my past. He came here because he felt the bond awaken. He is a guardian of the old ways, and now that the thread between us has grown strong, he believes I must return home." Kai stared at Soren, unsure whether to step forward or back, unsure of what Lyra meant by return home. She continued before he could speak. "On my world, bonding with another species is forbidden. The unity thread was a legend, a story told to children. We never believed it could truly happen, but now it has, and Soren has been sent to decide what must be done." Soren stepped forward and looked at Kai, his eyes deep and unreadable. Then he spoke in clear English, his voice slow. "You are the human who carries the bond. You are not to blame, but you are now part of something ancient. You must understand." This connection is not private. It echoes through the fabric of space. It touches things we do not fully know, and it brings change wherever it grows. Kai asked him what would happen now, what choice they had. Soren looked at Lyra, then back at Kai before answering you. Have two paths stay apart, and let the bond fade or face the trials that come with unity. If you choose the second path, there will be no turning back, and the universe may not be kind to what you become. Lyra stepped between them, her voice calm but full of steel. I have made my choice. I will not break the thread. I will walk this path with him. Soren did not argue. Instead, he took something from his robe, a small orb that pulsed with dark light, and handed it to her. Then, you must use this to reveal the full truth of who you are and what he is becoming. The bond is not just between two hearts. It opens doors to places once closed, and once opened, they never close again. Hey, bowed once more and turned to leave. But before stepping away, he said one last thing. Others will come. Some will fear you, some will follow you, and some will try to destroy you. Be ready. Then he vanished into the trees, leaving behind silence and questions. Kai looked at Lyra, who held the orb close, her hands trembling. She looked at him and spoke gently. There are things I never told you, things I thought would stay buried forever, but now I must show you everything, or the bond will collapse under the weight of hidden truths. Held out the orb, and it rose between them, glowing brighter as it spun slowly, light expanding outward, forming images, memories, stories he could not explain. He saw a younger version of Lyra, standing before a council of glowing beings. He saw war, he saw peace. He saw her running through fire, carrying a child who vanished into light. He saw her weeping under two moons, and then saw her standing in front of a mirror, whispering his name long before they met. The vision faded, and Lyra fell to her knees, breathing hard, her voice where now you know. Now you see, I am not just a student or a traveler. I am the last carrier of the ancient seed, and you are its spark. Kai knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder, the bond between them pulsing, strong, steady, unbreakable, whatever came next. They would face it together, not as strangers, not as species, but as one. Garden Dome felt different now, as if the air had changed its shape around them. The light through the glass above flickered gently, like the stars were blinking slower than usual. Kai sat beside Lyra, both of them quiet, the memory orb still floating above the ground, spinning slowly, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. The bond between them no longer subtle, no longer hidden. It moved like a river through their bodies, through their thoughts. Even their breaths began to match without trying. Lyra looked at him, her eyes softer than before, her voice barely a whisper. Now that you have seen what I carry, I must ask if you still wish to stay close to me, because this path is not safe, not easy, not quiet. Kai did not answer with words. He simply reached out and took her hand. The moment their skin touched the orb, flared with silver light, and a wave of warmth passed through both of them. Not hot, not burning, but calm and full of energy that made the ground beneath them hum softly. She smiled for the first time in days, and said gently, then, we must leave this place before others find us, before the next stage begins. They packed quickly, not much to take, only the memory orb, a few supplies, and a small device that Lyra called a pathfinder. She told Kai it could scan for safe zones where energy could be hidden from those who hunt the bonded. As they moved through the outer rings of the station, they kept their hoods up and their minds linked, using thoughts instead of words. Their connection had grown sharper, now like a thread made of light, stretched tight between two hearts. Every time they passed near each other, a soft pulse echoed around them, invisible to most, but strong enough to flicker the lights above and trigger the nearest AI with small warnings about power surges. Kai noticed his senses changing, his hearing sharper, his steps lighter, his reactions faster, as if her presence was upgrading something deep inside him, not physically, but in ways no scanner could explain. They found an old maintenance tunnel leading to the lower levels A forgotten part of the station once used for farming experiments, now abandoned, and silent Lyra chose it as their hideout for now, saying the metal in the walls could mask their energy from trackers. Kai set up a small camp while she connected the orb to a port on the wall, letting it feed from the system, slowly glowing brighter with each second. They rested. Lyra began to speak again, this time more openly, her voice steady but still carrying the weight of truth. Next stage of the bond will be emotional fusion. It means we will not just feel our own pain and joy, but each other's even. The smallest fears, even the deepest hopes, everything will pass between us without filter, without permission. Nodded slowly, trying to imagine what it would be like to carry another soul inside his own, to wake up with thoughts that were not only his, to cry for reasons he could not name, to laugh at memories that belonged to her, not him, but even through the worry. He felt something else, a peace that had no name, a comfort that came from knowing he would never be truly alone again. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the tunnel, soft at first, like a footstep, then another, then silence. Lyra stood quickly, her body tense, her eyes glowing brighter, her voice sharp in his mind. Someone is here, stay close to me. They moved as one, their steps in sync, their thoughts locked, their bodies alert. Then from the shadow a shape appeared, not tall, not threatening, but small, a child with glowing green eyes and skin marked with silver patterns. The child looked at them, then at the orb, and then spoke in a strange language that made the walls hum. Lyra stepped forward slowly, answering in the same tongue. Kai watched, unable to understand, but feeling every word through the thread between them, emotions passing like waves, curiosity, trust, sorrow, hope. After a moment, Lyra turned to Kai and explained this child is a messenger from a hidden tribe, one that still believes in the old ways. They felt the orb activate and came to offer guidance. They say we must complete the fusion before the next cycle of the station, or the bond will collapse and take us both with it. Kai looked at the child, who nodded once, then placed a hand over the orb, whispering a word that made it pulse 3 times, slowly, then fade to a soft blue light. The child turned and vanished into the shadows as if never there, and Lyra sighed deeply, her body relaxing for the first time in hours. That was a gift from fate. She said softly, now we must begin the final alignment or lose everything we have become. Kai looked into her eyes and saw himself reflected there, not just his face, but his fear, his strength, his love. She reached out and placed her hand on his chest, the pulse between them growing louder, filling the tunnel with silent thunder. He closed his eyes and let go of everything else as the bond reached its next form, turning to hearts into one rhythm. The old tunnel felt like home now, even with its cracked walls and rusted pipes. The silence wrapped around Kai and Lyra like a warm blanket. They had stayed hidden for 2 days, letting the bond grow, letting the fusion complete slowly. Each moment spent together added a new layer to the thread inside them, no longer just thoughts or feelings. Now even memories began to pass between them, not like voices, but like soft pictures painted across the heart. Kai could see her childhood running through glowing forests beneath twin moons, her laughter echoing through trees shaped like silver flames. He felt her first fear, her first fall, her first taste of loss. Lyra saw his past to the days of loneliness before the station, the cold mornings on Earth, the pain of silence in crowded rooms, and the joy he felt when he first saw stars from space. All of it, shared all of it, understood without words, without judgment. They sat together near the glowing orb, which now hovered freely above the ground, spinning slower than before, but shining brighter. Its light had turned golden, soft and pure, like it had finally found peace. Lyra reached out and touched it, and the light danced around her fingers like it knew her name. Kai smiled, but that smile did not last. A sound echoed from the far end of the tunnel, slow and careful. Not like the child from before, this was heavier, a presence that brought tension to the air. Lyra stood quickly, her glow fading slightly, her eyes sharp with alertness. Kai followed her gaze, and soon a figure stepped from the shadows. It was Yalon, a human from their class, someone Kai had once called a Frangilin. Raised both hands in peace, his voice calm, his face unreadably came to warn you they are looking for you all over the station. The administrators, the peacekeepers, even some of the science council, they know something strange is happening, they think. You are behind it. Kai stepped forward, confused but grateful. How did you find who's Jalen? Smiled slightly and pointed to a small badge on his wrist. Helped design the energy grid for the lower rings. I noticed spikes coming from this area, so I followed them, and I was right. I knew it had to be you. Lyra watched him without blinking, her voice like ice wrapped in silk hand. What do you want in return? Yulen hesitated just a second too long before answering. You want nothing but to help. I swear I told no one yet, but you need to move soon. They will trace the surge and find this place. I can help you escape the station. I know ways through the cargo ships. No one checks anymore. Kai looked at Lyra, then back at Yalon, unsure of what to believe, but hope flickered inside him. Maybe this was the break they needed. Maybe fate was still on their side. But Lyra stepped forward and placed her hand on Jalen's chest for just a moment, her eyes glowing again, the bond inside her reaching out like a silent wind. And then she pulled back, her face turned to stone, her voice sharp, and finally Jalon stepped back quickly, guilt flashing in his eyes, his mouth opening to speak, but no sound came. The orb behind them began to flicker, darker now, like it could sense the betrayal. Lyra's glow returned, but brighter, stronger, as if her anger had become light too. Sold us out. Your mind is already marked by the trackers. You led them here. You thought you could fool me, but the bond sees all, even the shadows. In your heart, Julian tried to run, but the orb pulsed once, and the tunnel around them shifted slightly, locking him in place, not with walls, but with weight, his legs frozen, his arms numb. Kai stepped forward, heart pounding, betrayal cutting deeper than any knife. Why, Yalon? Why would you do this? Jelen's voice broke his words, heavy with shame. They offered me a place on the council. They said the bond was dangerous. They said it would break the order of things. I thought if I gave them proof, they would let me stay in the inner rings. I did not think it would feel like this. Lyra raised her hand, but Kai stepped in front of her, his voice low but steady. Let him go. The bond has already punished him worse than we ever could. The orb pulsed again, and Yolan fell to his knees, his mind touched by truth, too fast, too raw. The images too much to hold. He would not remember this place, or their names, or even his betrayal, his memory wiped clean by the bond itself. Kai. Lyra turned away, leaving him behind. In the dim light of the tunnel, they walked back to their camp, the silence between them deep but not empty, filled with trust and pain, and something stronger than either. Lyra spoke softly as they packed their things. We must leave tonight. The fusion is almost complete. The final thread must be sealed under open sky, under real stars, not behind glass. Kai nodded, understanding that this chapter was over, and the next would be harder, but also more true. Together, they stepped into the dark path ahead, the orb following them like a small sun lighting the way. The cargo bay was wide and silent, filled with crates of unknown origins stacked like forgotten towers. The air smelled of metal and old dust. The lights above flickered with every hum of the ship's engine. Kai and Lyra moved carefully, their hoods pulled low, their steps silent. The orb floated behind them, glowing gold and blue, shifting like a living star. They had made it this far, but the journey was not over. Lyra paused near the central door, her hand on the scanner, her eyes closed for a moment, as if listening to something beyond sound. The bond inside them pulsed slow and steady, no longer wild, no longer flickering. It had settled into something calm, something deep, something whole. Kai could feel her thoughts brushing against his like wind on still water. He no longer needed words to know her heart. He only had to feel. The scanner clicked, and the door opened slowly, revealing the transport deck, where a small shuttle waited, hidden behind shadows and silence. This shuttle was old, its paint chipped, its systems outdated. But it would be enough to take them off the station and into open space, into the place where the final thread could awaken. They stepped inside and began powering the system. Lyra moving fast with practiced hands, Kai beside her checking each panel. Each light, each wire, the orb floated to the center of the cockpit, casting a glow across the metal walls like dawn breaking in darkness as the engines warmed. Up Lyra turned to Kai, her voice soft but steady. Are you ready once we leave? There will be no going back. The bond will complete itself under the real stars, and nothing will ever be the same. Again Kai looked at her, not with fear, but with quiet strength. His heart full of the things they had seen, the memories they had shared, the dangers. They had faced the pain they had overcome, and the truth they had found in each other. I am ready, he said, and meant every word. Shuttle lifted slowly from the floor, its engines humming with new life. The cargo bay doors opened above them, revealing the vastness of space, endless and quiet, and full of light. The stars stretched far in every direction, shining like old promises waiting to be fulfilled. As the shuttle moved forward, the orb began to spin faster, its colors deepening, its shape shifting. Into a perfect sphere, it floated between them, pulsing with rhythm, matching both their heartbeats at once, the bond inside them. Reaching its peak, suddenly the light from the orb spread across the ship, covering everything in golden mist. The controls vanished, the walls faded, the seats disappeared, and Kai and Lyra found themselves standing not in a shuttle, but in a field of stars, each step beneath them soft like light, each breath filled with warmth. This is the core of the bond, Lyra said, her voice echoing like song. Here we complete the final thread. Here we become one. Kai reached out and took her hands. The moment their skin touched the stars above them, began to move slowly at first, then faster, swirling into patterns of memory and hope and love. The bond wrapped around them like a second skin, invisible but strong, deeper than blood, brighter than flame. Their minds opened fully, no longer separate, no longer limited. They saw everything, each memory, each dream, each scar, and each smile. They felt each other's pain and joy, not as visitors, but as owners, not as strangers, but as one in this space of light. Lyra showed him her deepest secret, a vision of her true name, her birth under the triple moons, her exile from a world that feared the old ways, and her longing for someone who would see her not as alien, not as danger, but as soul. Kai showed her his fear of being alone, his quiet nights on Earth, his wonder when he saw her for the first time, and the strange calm he had felt since. The moment their eyes met, the stars sang around them, a sound not made by any voice, but by the bond itself. A song of truth and choice and change, and when the song ended, the light faded, the orb settled between them. Its glow soft now, like a candle. Not dying, but resting, they stood back in the shuttle, the walls returning the panels. Blinking softly, the engines quiet. Lyra looked at Kai, and he looked at her, and in their eyes was everything, not just love, but understanding, not just feeling, but unity. The bond had awakened, and it was complete. They landed on a quiet moon far from the main trade routes, a place with open sky and silent nights. The air was clean, the ground soft with pale grass. They built a small home near the edge of a glowing lake, the orb floating above like a second sun, never too far, never too close, always presence. Sometimes they spoke, but often they did not need to. Sometimes they remembered the pain, but mostly they held peace. Sometimes they feared the future, but always they stood together. The universe was wide and full of noise, but in this quiet corner of space, two souls had found each other across stars and silence, and through the power of the bond, they had become one.